Hello and welcome to the Long Game, a podcast about games, education, art and culture, and of course, play. My name's Adam Clarke. I'm an artist, a Minecraft map maker, and sometimes occasional YouTube personality as well.
Hi there, and I'm Dragnoz, and yeah, everything he said, except I also create immersive gaming experiences, arts, and all kinds of stuff. I personally like to teach people how to do what I do, how to make the games, how to play the games, and so forth. Yeah, that's me.
I'm quite sure instead of teach people, you almost said cheat people there. I like to cheat people.
No, why would I cheat people? You make me sound like a YouTuber now.
So, hi everyone, my name's Stephen. I am Director of Immersive Minds, and we are technology education company specialising in helping teachers, children, parents, owners of museums, art galleries, and even businesses to use technology anywhere around the world.
Fantastic.
Awesome. You're the most professional one amongst us at the moment.
You think? You wouldn't say that if you saw me in my office, surrounded by my labyrinth pops and my dark crystal pops. I've got a shelf dedicated just to my Tron toys. I've got a Dishonored mask sitting up above me.
Yeah, I like that.
I've got Corvo's mask, and on my other shelf are the Muppets. I've got Kermit the Frog, and I've actually got some Fraggles sitting looking at me right now. So yeah, professionalism,
isn't this
maybe not.
Well, weirdly, I think we've all got offices like
yes,
surrounding ourselves with toys. Yeah, so I tell you what, we'll do some photographs in the show notes as well of our favourite toy bits in our offices and stuff like that, so you can kind of have a look. Dragnoz, what's your favourite toy that you've got at the moment?
My favourite toy. That is actually a difficult question. You know what? I would say it would be that little figure you gave me for Disney.
Oh yeah.
Jack Skeleton.
Yes. He is nice.
Yeah, he's
most
really
of the Disney
nice.
Infinity stuff. I loved all their kind of their figures as well. It's a damn shame it's not
The
on
Disney Infinity
anymore.
stuff is lovely.
Because they had
I love the style. It's got that very weird square, sculpted marble-ish style. Not marble-ish, but very. It's an awesome style.
I'm sorry. What was the shame? Are they stopping doing them?
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't you know?
They closed. The
No,
studio.
I did not know that.
Oh my gosh, it was last year. It was awful as well because I just finished recording some awesome let's plays and how-to videos with Disney, and then Disney kind of just sat on these videos, and I did them with me and Dragnoz worked really hard on these videos as well. They were kind of tutorial videos. Yeah, and I worked with a range of other YouTubers as well, and we were kind of really excited about what we'd done. I thought, and money was spent, and then they just sat on them. And I wondered why they never got released. Yeah, and then what was it? 2 or 3 months later, Disney were like, right, well, that Disney Infinity game. Well, we're stopping supporting it, and we're killing it.
Such a shame, because I'll tell you the models. I've got the Tron one actually. I've got Sam Flynn in my hand just now. Yeah. They are beautifully made.
Fantastic.
All the Star Wars stuff. I mean, I've got all the new Star Wars stuff from The Force Awakens was beautiful as well. Yeah. And they even did. Did you see them? There are models that the artist released as well, I think.
For Rogue One, wasn't it?
Yeah, for Rogue One, and these were like, these are the concept designs, and they absolutely looked incredible. There was a lot of stuff that I think was going to be coming on down the line. So a crying shame. So because we were excited about, because you could make mini games inside of Disney Infinity.
And this has always been a big issue. This is a big issue when I decide to develop on a new platform, is that like there was the other one as well. What was the one? Spark, Microsoft Spark.
Yes, Spark was tragic. That was almost like
fantastic development platform. I spent hours and days learning it and starting a game, and then just as I was about to release my first map, they're like, "Oh yeah, well, we're killing this platform."
I know. It's like they looked at Minecraft and they were like, "Who needs Spark anymore, right?
Yeah,
We've
buy
got an
that.
educational platform. We don't need this anymore."
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I loved Spark. Was amazing. It was really fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. The well, I kind of like the same thing as well. When I'm looking at platforms to develop in, I always think, what can I do that's beyond the game itself? So with Little Big Planet, that was actually one of the first ones for me, because Little Big Planet shipped with the tools that they used to make their own levels.
Right.
So it's called It's the part in the world called in the game called My Moon, and I mean, I was playing the game and I really enjoy Little Big Planet anyway. But when I found My Moon, I was like, hang on a minute, I could make my own platforms, make my
Yeah.
own levels.
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
add
Yep.
my own characters, and it's just like suddenly it's kind of like, this is a really rich platform, and I love that.
What did
So we went-
you did? What was your project, Stephen? You did an
We
amazing
were-
project.
Yeah, we worked with APITO, which is the Offshore Petroleum Industry Training Organisation,
Whoa.
and SESEF, which was I know, right?
Yeah.
Which was the Scottish Earth Science Education Forum. And basically, what they asked me to do, they came to me and said, "We'd love to use Little Big Planet," or actually, they came to me and said, "We'd like to use games-based learning to help children explore fossil fuel formation. What is oil? What is coal? How does it form? What do we do with it? How does fossil fuel become electricity, and so on?" And we'd like to do it in an engaging way, a way that sees children play with those concepts. So I, at the time, was playing Little Big Planet, and I thought we could do it in this. So I released 5 levels, which are still available and can still be downloaded on the PlayStation Network. And you start off in a house and you have to go around and switch off all the energy vampires. So you switch off your television, and we have the children looking for the microwave, the oven, even the shower. The shower's still on and they have to switch it off, and so on. And they switch it off by pulling buttons and levers and all that kind of stuff. It's very cool. And then they get to the attic and they meet Grandad, and Grandad says, "Listen, it's all very well switching off the electricity, but where does it come from? Like, where do you think the lights come from?" He said, "I tell you what, I've built a time machine in the attic here. Why don't we go and find out?" And he takes you back 400 million years to the time when plankton was kind of dying en masse and being compacted. And anyway, long story short, you end up following the story right through from the plankton in the bottom of the ocean. You survive an earthquake, which creates an anticline. You then go onto an oil rig, and you have to unblock the oil rig pipes, and there's all sorts of gamification in there. They get awards for things that they do. They then take the oil and they refine it, put it in a power station, turn it into steam, and then they follow from the power station, they follow the cables back to the house that they started in the first place. And the garden, the light above the door's on. So then they walk into the door in the end.
I remember seeing the video and of what you just described, and it was just it was thrilling. It's just really amazing.
And making the videos was brilliant, because of course a lot of teachers at the time said, "I'm not putting a PlayStation 3 in my classroom." So I said, "Well, we'll do a playthrough and we'll make a video of it." And it was really great fun, because creating even the voiceovers, like when you join in the house in the beginning, there's a woman in the kitchen who says, "Hi, welcome to this level. What we want you to do is find all the energy vampires." That woman was my mum. she was like, "I'll do the voiceover for you."
So good.
It was really good. It was just a lot of fun to make, and kids loved it. It ended up getting, hundreds of thousands of downloads, and the kids just loved it. In fact, I had a guy email me from Korea once who said, "Where can I find the 5th?" Because he couldn't find the 5th level. "Where can I find the 5th level?" He said, "I've done the other 4." And I'm like, "Korea?" Just did not honestly think it would be out there. But yeah, these things have arms and legs. They really do.
Yeah, and I do like that you actually now brought up that the video itself that you made was actually the educational part of it.
Yes.
Because that kind of brings us nicely back to all of our previous conversations about, it's about telling the story and getting a story across to people. And a lot of people are kind of like, "Oh, I don't want my kid to play games." And they don't see that this is what you can also do with those games. It's a platform where you can actually create these stories. They don't have to necessarily play the game. So that is very, very, very cool.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's seeing beyond the game. That's the issue. It's helping people to see beyond the game, and see that there's actually creativity to be had. It's like when I was a kid. I mean, one of my favourite toys when I was a kid was my Star Wars figure collection. Now, I didn't just sit down with them and follow the story of A New Hope. I sat down and made up my own
own
stories,
story,
you know. And I remember the time even Iron Man, I had an Iron Man figure and the Green Goblin, and they were arrested by Gamorrean guards and they were taken to Jabba's palace. You know, and it's just like, but for me, that was just a story. It came alive, and that was using a bunch of figures from different movies.
Exactly. Just it could, yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Oh,
think-
well, talking about that, kind of talking about. So the thing that I'm most excited about at the moment is Lego Worlds makes its premiere out of beta into the console world. That should be coming about third of March. So that's actually coming out on all platforms at the moment. So that's kind of what I'm excited about. And Lego are the kind of masters of storytelling and also bringing together loads of IPs, you know,
Absolutely.
from all different kind of areas. So it'd be really interesting to see
Like-
how that behaves
So,
and what it's like. Did any of you play Lego Worlds in the beta on the Steam?
See,
I did.
is this the one that was a few years ago?
Well,
Yeah.
it's been chugging away in the background. So
Yeah,
it's,
see, I
it's
mean,
the kind of,
this kind of comes back to me. This comes back again to my whole thing. I'm very nervous when new platforms are out. Because for this reason of it, you know, investing a lot of time trying to, you know, learn it and see how it works, and then start creating content for it, and then it just, you know, it's killed, and you're kind of left in the dark. So, I'm very excited for it. But once again, it's one of those things. Personally, I'll probably hold off to see where the wind blows.
I enjoyed it when I played it. I played the beta on Steam. I enjoyed it. I found it was quite clunky to control, and I don't know if that was just that wasn't fair, because maybe I was just coming from the kind of experience I've got with Minecraft. But I found it really clunky to control.
Yeah, I think that it had those kind of problems with it, and there were some refining moments, and it did have a development cycle, which I kind of followed, and it got better the later it got. And there were some issues with the sea and the ocean, and also there was a kind of an issue about multiplayer wasn't available.
Yeah,
and
I remember that.
And I think this is what makes, you know, Minecraft didn't have multiplayer for a long time, and it was all right, but when multiplayer happened, oh my gosh, it was mind blowing.
Yep.
It was that's when the potential for this world became really interesting, and I'd like to play with it. I don't know what kind of I mean, the best things you can do in Lego is kind of build stuff, but often they're kind of really crazy things. There are some real super experts out there, and there is a little bit of technical stuff. Again, not as easy and open door as Minecraft maybe, because Minecraft is so unintimidating, and that anybody can do it. Yet this is like, you have to get this thing out, and you have to kind of. So there's a level of artistry that Lego requires you to kind of engage with, and that's a barrier, you know.
Exactly. I think the thing about Lego as well is that unless you've kind of grown up with it and know the little pieces and the little, you know, kind of, because there's maths involved in it completely and utterly. You know, I have a 3 block and I need to actually cover 5 block space. So I agree with you. I think Lego can actually be pretty intimidating, even though it is a kid's toy, especially if you haven't grown up with it. I think, I'm not sure if there's any studies done, but I don't think a large number of people actually grew up with Lego. I mean, it's a favorite toy, but I would be interested to actually see the stats behind that.
Yeah, it would be kind of be interesting. I mean, it's something that you know, we all have. I mean, my kind of, you know, going back to kind of what's in our room. So I have 2 kind of custom Lego things that I actually haven't. One is still boxed up. The second one is like, I haven't quite finished it. So I've got a Doctor Who Lego set that I haven't quite finished yet. I know.
Nice.
And then when we're in the US, I bought at the Lego store in New York. I bought the Yellow Submarine.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, nice. Yeah? Yes.
So it's sort of that limited edition, the 4 Beatles in there and stuff like that. So that's again one of those. I think that was proposed by the public, and then
So it's a Crusoe project.
Yes. I think the same as, and you know, I've got. I like those projects. I think they're really amazing.
So
I saw one.
I have a
one
Back
a
to
while
the
ago.
Future DeLorean, exactly, still boxed, sitting behind me. That was one of
nice.
those. Yeah.
Nice. I saw one recently. I've got an email that comes in just showing me some of the Lego updates that people, you know, the ones that people are suggesting, and then you have to vote for them. I think if they get more than 10,000 votes,
Yep.
Lego consider building
That's
them.
it, yeah.
And I saw the pub from Monkey Island.
Oh.
I want it
Oh,
so
man.
bad.
Yes.
So what was it called again? The pub in Monkey Island. It's going to come. Hopefully, it'll come back during the podcast.
Leave it in the comments section below, ladies and gentlemen. Answer our fading memories.
and
This is
just
going back.
like it.
This is going back a bit though. So
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Monkey Island, going way
Go
back
Google
actually,
it.
but I love it.
yeah, we were thinking of I mean, talking about the whole Monkey Island and that kind of genre of gaming. I mean, me and Adam have been kicking around ideas to actually, or kicking around the idea to create our own game with one of these, free engines out there.
Yeah.
So Monkey Island is one of those games where, it taught you a lot about having a two-dimensional game, but make it appear three-dimensional, yet have it engaging by having players explore.
Yes.
I really like that the idea of those.
My
kind of-
head's whirring with it. Yeah, we should do it and then make it part of the podcast. We should have a weekly dev update. Just say, well, guys, we managed to make our character blink or something.
No, that's the kind of the thing now. That's exactly where I am at the moment is trying to make a character walk.
Right.
And so when we get to the section about what we've played this week, my thing is I haven't actually played anything that I haven't said in the last 2 podcasts, but what I have been doing is learning something called using a JSON skeleton. It's or a bone. So you get special programs that create JSON skeletons animations that you then import into various programs. So and then you animate them, and so you have a jump cycle, you have a walk cycle, and this is all in a JSON, very lightweight JSON file.
Yep.
Talking about having dev updates and things like that, we already have content if we really want to go down that way.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. I'd love to hear. Well, we're going to hit a bit later on about kind of your dev journey and how Defold is working. As well. That'd be really really cool.
Yeah.
So what else is? I mean, we're just going to I'll just let everybody know right at the end of this podcast. So we're going to keep this. We're going to keep our chat short-ish. we'll see how we witter on. And then right at the end of this podcast, we're going to have Stephen and I were in Dublin last weekend.
Yes.
And where I caught a delicious virus that put me in bed the other day, which was quite interesting.
Thanks, Ireland.
Oh my gosh, I was wiped out. It's amazing. It's amazing because being self-employed and having to be ill isn't something I really enjoy. So I was like, I had things to do. But
that tends to be you called it conflu, didn't you? And actually, that is a real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been to so many conferences and conventions, and then you come back and you're just floored for 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're suddenly subjected to all these kind of diseases and viruses you're not normally subjected to.
Yeah, it was horrific. I couldn't.
Adam could be patient 0.
I felt like patient 0. I felt like I woke up and I thought every joint ached, even my toes ached, which I was like, I was like, Vic, my toes are aching. She was like, just stay in bed and keep away from us.
Absolutely.
So I was quarantined in my own house. But we were at my invention in Dublin, and at the RDS. Is that right?
Yep.
Am I saying it right?
The RDS, yeah.
And it was a great event, and my invention traditionally is a kind of a YouTuber Minecraft meet and greet, but I think this one had it's always had a little educational kind of slant to it, but this time we had Steve Isaacs over from the USA who kind of brought together, along with Stephen, a load of different people to kind of do a big broader brush kind of Minecraft educational area, which was incredible, and and really exciting. And also, guess we also had a Vu Bui
I saw the pictures. Yeah,
came along as well. So we were
Popped
kind
along
of
with his hat on,
yeah,
his
so,
fancy hat.
yeah. So Vu and Kareem were over there as well from Mojang. So they came and gave us a visit, and yeah, just really amazing kind of weekend. Loads of YouTubers, all that kind of stuff. And loads of fans as well, and loads of parents, and we got to talk to loads of people about, Minecraft, education, games, why is it important, and I think to a certain extent we got through to some people, but we were kind of competing. We had this little kind of microphone and talking to a load of people. It was interesting. Kind of the parents are much more interested than the kids, and I think that was really amazing.
It's a funny thing actually, because I do the same with the Insomnia gaming festival.
Yeah.
Insomnia approached me a while ago. The guys from Multiplay and Game approached me a while ago and said, if we were to do something with education, why would that work? Like, tell us why that's important. And I said, well, let's face it, for every child that walks through the door, and that's who you're currently aiming your stands at. For every child that walks through the door, you've probably got a parent or two tagging along. And the funny thing is, I was making some jokes at Mindvention about the parents that are just like, if you're wandering around here thinking, what has just happened to me? Like, where am I? And what is all of this? Come on over to our education stand and we'll put some perspective on it for you. Yeah. And what we've found over the last sort of 2 years of doing it with Insomnia and the weekend there with Mindvention is that parents genuinely do. They sit down for 2 or 3 minutes and they kind of watch their kid playing, and then they hear us on stage, and then you see their heads turn, then they start to shuffle their chairs, then they kind of move a bit closer, and suddenly you have their attention. And I think it just needs that introduction, and shows like Mindvention are a great way of genuinely getting face to face in front of the public and just helping them to understand what we do. It takes that. I think if you just put out a tweet or something that says, hey guys, we do games, and we use games in education, it's just not enough. They need to hear the conversation, they need to see what we're showing.
Absolutely.
So thanks to the team at Mindvention for giving us an opportunity to do that, because it was a great little space. Gave us a stage, microphone, speakers. Gave us what did we have? 20 computers, 24 computers, something like that. It was amazing.
Well, we're going to listen to one of you interviewed Katia and Marco at Mindvention. So we're going to listen to one of those at the end of this podcast today.
Brilliant.
I just thought we'll move on to something else. So what kind of should we talk about projects that we've been working on, or where you are going to be in the world, Stephen?
Yeah, maybe.
Absolutely. Wow.
Well,
next Friday, I've got a week in the office next week, and I'm actually developing a big project for Canada, which I'll talk about in a second. But next Friday I leave for South Africa, and I'm in South Africa for 7 days. And then I'm home for 1 day, and then I'm off to Egypt, and I'm in Egypt for 6 days, and then I go immediately. I fly from Egypt straight to Canada, and I'm in Canada for 8 days. So I'm out all of March. So the next podcasts will be coming from South Africa, Egypt, and Canada, respectively.
That is so cool.
Excellent.
So cool.
Yeah, super cool. Well, I mean, what I'm doing there is. Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, South Africa is, I'm working in Cape Town and Johannesburg, and I'm working with teachers in both cities to embrace Minecraft Education Edition, the new education version of Minecraft. So I'm going to be showing them how they should start to explore that as a technology in their classroom and kind of giving them ideas for using that. In Egypt, we're going to be doing the same. I try to localize my training, so I've already been doing research on some of the lessons and some of the kind of things that are going on in South Africa and Egypt that I can use. I mean, Egypt's an obvious one is their ancient history, and I'm going to be based in Cairo, next to the pyramids, so that's what we're going to be focusing on when we're there. Cool. But and then in Canada. We're in Toronto in Canada with what's called E2, the Educators Exchange, and it's a Microsoft-driven event, a platform event, and it's beautiful. It's my favourite. I have to say, I went to the one in Budapest last year, and it was just probably probably the highlight of all of the events that I've been to, and that includes Minecon, by the way. It's just this beautiful event where teachers from all over the world are invited to come along. So I met teachers from Malaysia and Indonesia and Brazil and Peru and every you name it. It didn't matter how far away you thought that country was, they were there, and they had their flags and they had their. People were giving me gifts. You know, if you present, they come and they give you a gift because that's what they do and that's part of the customs in their country. And it was just beautiful. And people come and we just basically exchange ideas. So teachers from India are exchanging ideas and projects and workshops with teachers from the UK, and the people in the UK are then working with the Brazilians, and it just goes on and on. It's just beautiful. It's about 3 or 4 days of just constant, rich teacher development. Amazing.
That is amazing. It's great when people can come together, isn't it? It's just like it's a rare treat. It's a rare treat.
It is a rare treat.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
So I'll be building part of the Toronto skyline for that in Minecraft, and then we're going to be challenging our audience to a kind of what we call a problem-based learning within Minecraft. So I can't say too much about what that is, but if anybody's listening who is going to E2, look out. There will be a Minecraft challenge coming your way.
Sounds fantastic. Look forward to it. Forward to hearing all about it, actually.
Yeah. What about you guys? Tell us.
Dragnoz?
Well, I am absolutely still busy with this refugee project. I mean, we've kind of got it at a final stage. We're now adding supplemental content.
Okay, cool.
Kind of feedback like we want to actually maybe add some of the white hat or white helmet support staff or volunteers who kind of help in Syria. So it's kind of enriching the world now. So we have a fully playable world that has a narrative that starts at one point and ends at another point, but we're now just kind of filling up the world with interesting characters and stories and things like that.
Wow.
Yep.
I have a project, three separate projects running with Blockworks at the moment, which at the moment I can't really talk about. But however, when I can talk about it, I will absolutely blast it. And then we've got the Fire of London, the last map that me and you we've been discussing this earlier on.
Yeah, we just about an hour ago we had a conversation about it, and that's going to be the final map of the Great Fire of London. It's the map where we rebuild London. So the kind of the key learning parts of that are the king made after London burnt down. The king was like, right, there were reasons why things caught alight, and that's because things were made of wood.
They were too close together.
Things are too close together. So there were some proclamations, and these actually start to form kind of a design, part of Parliament, and kind of design the design kind of reforms as well. So these are the kind of first kind of real solid design reforms that started out, and how we kind of and design and all that kind of stuff kind of fulfills that kind of stuff from there. Also, we get to meet some architects as well, and that's going to be quite exciting because we've written some scripts for them. You're going to meet all these different range of architects. You're going to interact with them a little bit. We've got some YouTubers doing the voices as well, so that's going to be cool. And at the end, we've got what we're calling a digital toy, where you can kind of redesign London yourself, but we'll let you kind of discover that. It's going to be done in a very Minecrafty way, so we're kind of excited about what that's going to look like and how it might behave. So we'll let that be a surprise for everybody when it comes out.
Nice.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's quite an exciting little one. I mean, personally, I kind of this is my least favorite map of the three, because I really enjoyed burning London down. The whole rebuilding is like, that's boring.
It's quite simple. I think we're trying to keep someone simple and more like a toy that can be playful with a little bit of learning associated onto it.
So I think this is probably going to be the closest we're going to get to like the Lego type thing. We're giving away too much, I think. So once we get to a point where we can talk about it, we'll talk about it a bit more as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
The other kind of thing that I did, well, I've got a kind of a Minecraft live theatre project that's underway. We're actually getting underway with it.
Saw your
Nice.
tweets and thank you.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So Dragnoz, I've got more conversations with you to come.
Excellent.
Oh,
you know where I am.
Yeah, so there's that, but of course, but again, nothing official yet. So as soon as I get something official, then we can all start talking about it in earnest, and it's going to be pretty cool, little kind of project to doing live theatre in Minecraft. It's going to be really, really interesting. So that's kind of those are the kind of things that are on my plate at the moment. I've also got the last bit of my kind of art project with the fabric printing. That's going to be I've actually got to put it up. I've got the piece of fabric behind me in my office now, and it's funny, I had to because it's now a piece of artwork in itself. The Leicester County Council sent me this form, and I had to fill this form out saying, okay, this is an artwork on loan to them as part of the museums and touring guide. So you've got to fill this form out. So if we break it, we know how much to insure it for. So I had to do this whole kind of insurance, and I was like, well, so it's interesting to kind of create this thing and to make it kind of and to fill the form out and to kind of and now it's got this artistic status, I think, as well, because obviously it's got some bureaucracy attached to it at the same time.
And
that's
actually
quite
a
good.
value, which is really interesting, because I develop a lot of projects which are obviously, and I know you guys too, we seek funding for what we're doing, and the funding pays for our time and it pays for our expenses and so on. But the end result, it's quite difficult, I find, sometimes to put a value on what we've done. Like, I mean, the Great Fire of London, how do you value that as a piece of artwork? Like, what do you insure that for? Should all data be wiped from everywhere in the world tomorrow? What do you value that at? That's quite an interesting thing.
It is actually. It's a very, very interesting question.
A very interesting question, yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
Because
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to just a question, a discussion I had when I was in Newcastle the other week, was exactly about that. I mean, we spent so much time and energy on this that you literally cannot put a price on it, because if you were to put a price on it, nobody would be able to afford.
People just wouldn't fund these things. That's
Not
the
at
thing,
all.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's hundreds and hundreds of hours that we put into these projects. So, most of the time, it's more almost a labor of love than it actually is. Getting paid for something.
Is. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I've had people say to me, "How long did that take?" And I say to them, "Well, it took us 8 months." And they're like, 8 months. I say, "Well, yeah." And they're kind of and it's funny, because one of the reactions you get is, "But it's Minecraft. Like, didn't you just build it?" And I say, "Well, no, we didn't just build it. We had to plan it. It's topographically accurate. We had to research it. We worked with 3 different partners, the Scottish Civic Trust and so on." And it's like, and then they start to think, "Wow, that really was a complete package of a project." And it's like, well, we had voice actors, we had coders, we had textile.
Exactly.
Keep doing that. Texture workers.
You probably had graphic designers, you had 3D modelers, you had coders, all of that, and it's just in Minecraft.
Yeah, like the BBC build at Scotland, that took 1 year and 4 months. So 1 year and 3, 1 year and 4, including the launch. And the kind of people are like, "What took a year, almost a year and a half to do something like that?" And when I sit down and explain why that was the case, they kind of like, "Wow, I see that now." But it does take explanation. Sorry.
Exactly.
Well, I think that's I mean, that's partly why we thought about this as this podcast as being kind of a useful kind of to give ourselves a voice, and it's also kind of just really to kind of explain widely about the some of the work that we do, and kind of even filmmaking, from filmmaking to writing to kind of game making and stuff like that is deeply challenging. Yeah, it's interesting.
But I think we could definitely do an episode just talking about all of the skills that we use that is outside of Minecraft.
You know what? I actually think that would be a really beneficial one as well, because I've got a lot of teachers and parents saying to me, games and the gaming industry. Come on, then, tell me how it's going to help my kids.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I say to them,
We
"This is
should. Well, we should
skills that I
definitely.
use."
We should look at. We'll look at kind of. And you guys can at home. You can help us think about this as well. Who would you like us to
Absolutely.
interview? Any game companies that you know of and stuff like that. You think we should be talking to? Be that Media Molecule, maybe. Be that Mojang. Maybe we can kind of talk
Rockstar.
to. Rockstar. Well, you're not too far away.
I've got friends that work there, so I can bring the Rockstar boys
Okay.
in for sure.
Well, that's fantastic. Yeah.
I'm not. I mean, I potentially could chat to King, but I'm not sure how far where the development. Would you be able to? Sorry, my wife's actually works for King, and she's sitting right behind me, listening to everything. If you heard any burp early on, that would have been her. Yeah. So well, I mean, we could potentially somehow
That'd be
maybe
great.
chat to a developer from King. Somebody. Yeah. Okay. She says yes. Yeah.
That would be great. Well, let's see what the listeners think as well, because if the listeners put something out, and then maybe we could reach out to whoever they want to hear from, and who knows?
Yeah, let us
Who
know
knows?
in any of the comments sections, in any of the kind of formats that we kind of produce this in, and even on Twitter as well. We might put this out on Twitter as well, to kind of judge and get and find out what you guys want. Okay, so we've got to kind of the game playing section. Now, Stephen, I can see what you're playing on Steam every now and then. It pops up. So, tell us about what you've been playing this week.
I have actually really enjoyed Craft the World.
I knew it.
I've been really enjoying that game, and I'll tell you why I've enjoyed it. Is because when I first started it, I thought, in fact, I actually sent someone who'd recommended it to me a message saying, "I hate this game. How could you recommend this to me?" But with a little persistence, it has actually proved to be one of the more engaging games that I've played for a while. In fact, I've even, and this is unlike me, I've even dropped Dishonored for it for the moment.
Oh wow.
And it's just a lovely, I think I mentioned it last week, but it's just a lovely little game where you control dwarfs and you have to basically craft a fortress and explore some mines and people. It's almost Terraria-like, but with a slightly more automated system built in, and I'm really, really enjoying it. It's just switch off time to me. I mean, I couldn't honestly say that I get anything more from it other than just that immersion.
That's
that I'm
the
looking
brilliant.
for in a game.
That's the one of those are the best games, I think.
Yeah, I just get lost in it and I enjoy it. So yeah, I'm enjoying that, and I do recommend it. I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that expensive a game. And
Craft the World, yeah. It's kind of
Craft the World.
yeah. You're a bunch of dwarfs.
Yeah, just dwarfs. Yeah,
You're just a bunch of dwarfs digging
a bunch
holes.
of Scottish dwarfs.
Scottish dwarfs.
and then but there's also goblins that come out at night. There's a kind of night thing, and then there's other kind of night things that happen. So you've got to kind of. There's a strategy to sort of do defensive stuff, isn't there? And other bits and pieces. Django played it for a long time. He loves it. Again, and I tried to play it and I didn't like it. That initial thing. I think it's one of these games you got to kind of spend some time with.
You got to stick to, really stick to. Because like I say, I struggled, and I even sent a message out saying, "Why would you recommend this? It's awful," and it's not awful. It's actually very immersive, escapism. It's just brilliant.
Yeah.
That's all I've had time for, actually. The other thing is my other passion, which I don't think I mentioned last week, but my other passion, and always has been since the very first game, is Hitman. And the new Hitman is still updating. If you bought the complete Hitman, it's still updating with what's called... what do they call those things? Anyway, I can't remember what they're called, but you get these hits.
Season stuff, isn't it?
Yes, you get these. Basically, they update it every few weeks. There's another one coming this weekend. In fact, I think it's unlocked today. And you get hits where it comes in and you've got 3 days to make the hit.
That sounds cool. Yeah.
It's really cool. And if you enter, basically you get set up for it basically says, listen, you need to get to Morocco. You need to kill this guy. You need to take out this guy who's I don't know, he's maybe a surgeon who's been killing people for their fortune or whatever. There's always some motive why, or a political guy or whatever. You got to take him out, and you've got, once you enter the map and you plan for the map, it gives you a warning and says, make sure that you're sure these are the weapons you want to take and this is the strategy you want to take, because if you die or if your computer crashes or whatever, the target's gone. You will never ever get him again. And it's really cool because it puts the pressure on, because you think, if I miss this guy, it's like he gets on a helicopter and he's never seen again, and I'll be this failed assassin. So I'm really enjoying that, and there's another one out this weekend.
Oh, definitely. I love the previous Assassin, the previous ones.
Yeah.
But I've not played the ones that they do this. I mean, it's a great new take on live content.
Yeah, it really is. The
Yeah.
only thing, and maybe some of the listeners can help me with this, but the only thing I think it was lacking and I couldn't find was some way of tying your account to an app on your phone, which then, I don't know if you remember the scene in The Bourne Identity where Bourne is uncovered in the first movie and they send a guy after him. They wake up there, like, I think he's the French cell or the Italian cell or something, and they wake him up with a pager. Anyway, they wake him up. He's lying on a couch or something, and he gets a blip on his pager, and he looks at it, and it's a call from the agency to go and make the hit on Jason Bourne, and it gives him a picture and some details and a location. Well, that's what I thought would be cool when these things come out, these hits come out, and there's been one. I think we're now into the 20s of these things. Like, I think there's 22 of these things launched. It would have been nice if there was an app on your phone that was
That'd
just
be
like
a little
beep, beep, beep.
notification. Yeah.
A little notification. You need to get to Morocco and make this hit. I mean,
Genius.
I would love that if I'm
Yeah,
sitting in my
yeah.
office. I'd just be like, "Sorry, I have to go.
Yeah, I've got to go. Kill
I need
this
to be
person.
in Sapienza in 3 hours." But anyway, that's what I'm enjoying just now.
That's
What
cool.
about you, gentlemen?
Well, I haven't played anything really. I've been ill this week, so that's. I think I played a
been
little
Rick
bit
and
of a little bit of Heroes of the Storm.
Oh,
because
yes.
Dragnoz dragged me into it, and
It's actually not a bad game.
and then yeah, it was a good game. And then also and then Rick and Morty, just the cartoon series. That's not what I've been playing, but watching. That's my consumption
Sure.
of stuff this week.
Alternative media. Yeah, well, from my side, I mean, I'm going to sound like a broken record. I've been playing my hour of World of Warcraft every day. However, I've actually started doing something, leveling up like alchemy skills, which I actually find pretty fascinating. Alchemy and actually this actually is one for you, Stephen. Archaeology. Okay, so you get a skill, you get a thing in World of Warcraft where you do archaeology. So on the map there's certain historic locations. You go there, you survey the area, and then it kind of starts pointing and narrowing down to a specific spot where you then dig, and then you'll unearth pieces of, for example, pieces of a bow. And then you need to go around and collect all of the pieces, and eventually you need to then build these pieces to form a complete historic archery bow. Once you've got that archery bow, you can then go to the museum in one of the main cities, and you can go and place it on there.
Yeah.
So I've found that really, really, really fascinating.
That's a nice idea, actually.
Yeah, I was really thinking of, because I know you guys have been doing a lot of stuff about archaeology, and I was like, this would actually make a pretty interesting Minecraft mechanic where you specify certain areas as being an archaeological site. Now, obviously, in World of Warcraft, you can't dig the ground. It's just a animation that shows you digging and then it pops up. But you can actually physically mark certain areas as having.
But it's a bit like all the skills in World of Warcraft. These things are there, but unless you've got the skill, you can't do anything about it.
Exactly.
Like there's a herbalist skill, isn't there?
Yes.
Suddenly you can go and gather all the herbs and crush them down and turn them into other things. Or
Exactly. So my whole thing about alchemy was that I needed these herbs. That's exactly what I needed. I needed herbs. And I needed. So it kind of starts crossing over into all of the other different skills, and it actually just shows you that when you study to be something in life, you actually need skills from a whole broader sense to combine into one. Anyway, so that's the main thing that I've been playing with again, but I've also my play has now become kind of learning how to actually code these games. So this is where Adam was mentioning earlier that I've kind of successfully made a very small game in default where I actually I physically went out and drew a character, physically figured out how to create this a JSON spine for this character, how to physically animate him. So when he jumps, when you press the spacebar, he jumps. When you move left, he moves left. When you move right, he walks right. When you hit spacebar, he does kind of like a snapping motion.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the games that I'm playing at the moment, is learning how to do these things. And Minecraft has given me the right mindset, but it's still so different. Because now you need to look at the nice thing about Minecraft is you don't have to worry about things like gravity and the environment. It's all taken care of. But when you kind of get to these kind of creating your own games, this is stuff you need to start thinking about. You start to think about the actual mathematical formulas for velocity.
Yes. Oh gosh. I mean, that's yeah. I mean, that's my favorite bits of the maths. Like,
exactly.
how do we code gravity even on a two-dimensional plane? It's fun.
Man, it's a pain. I spent the whole of last weekend, to great upset of the wife. Playing. And all I was able to do in the end of this 48 hours was to make him not fall through the world.
I know, but
walk left
you're so
and right.
excited. You're like, look, it's like people have been watching you sweat and toil and things like that. You're like, look, I can make a ball bounce on the floor and it not fall through.
Yeah, small victories though, right?
It's like, yay.
Every small. I used to get excited with that. I mean, this is way off the same thing, but I used to get really excited about that when I could change the ini file on Command and Conquer.
Yes.
And I realised that you could change the number of passengers that a Chinook could take from 5 to 6. And then I would test it. I would shut the ini file down. I would reload the game, and then I would take 6 soldiers, put it into a Chinook, and I just got such a buzz because I was like, yes, I've changed a piece of code, and it can now take 6. And then I could change, and then I started to get imaginative because then I was like, well, what if you made the Chinook have a minigun on the front? So in the ini file, it would say, the Chinook, and then it would tell you how many passengers, and then it would say primary weapon, and it would be blank, and secondary weapon blank. And I would just say, well, primary weapon, minigun, and I would look for the appropriate code in the thing, and then I would save the ini file, reload Command and Conquer, and this time my Chinook would attack the nearest tank, and I was like, yes! And it was just those tiny victories. I mean, to be honest with you, there's people out there that would just laugh at that and think, God, man, that's the basic of all basic. But for me, at 12 years old, that was the best.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it is that it becomes a drug.
Yeah.
I was over the moon when I actually pressed the left button and it actually flipped the animation, mirrored it so that it now actually is facing the left.
Yeah.
And that was like 8 hours work.
It's like, whoa.
I mean, now I could probably do it in 10 minutes, but
I know, but it's like, but this is the joy of coding and the joy of learning to code and stuff like that, because there are so many different ways of doing it, and if you're learning from scratch, you kind of have to kind of pull these things together, and it is a total joy. And you're right, it's kind of addictive because it is a drug, because you kind of it's that deep learning that we have to do to kind of to achieve something. And I remember doing some coding like that, and then once you've got it, it's like, oh, I've got that knowledge now. But then this is the thing. And then you go to a different platform and you think, oh, now I have to learn it all over again.
See, now this ties in perfectly with what I'm saying about putting when a new platform comes out or a new game comes out, do I invest the time?
Yeah,
because is this platform going to make it?
Exactly.
For example, this default that I'm using, it's got minimal documentation. So I have to dissect line by line another game to figure out what's going on. And to be honest, I am not exactly a coder. So even though all the lines are there, I don't actually really understand what I'm doing.
What you're looking at.
Exactly. It's like, okay, if I take out this line, run the game, what happens? Oh, nothing. take this line out, run the game. Oh, my whole PC crashes. Okay,
I do that when I'm changing my WordPress theme. I do that. I take things out of my WordPress theme. And I'm like, what happens if I take this line out here? Exactly. And then it's like, oh, the website's gone. So then I put it back in.
Yeah, exactly.
What you're talking about there, though, is I've been doing a bit of further reading on what is essentially problem-based learning, which differs from project-based learning. But we can go into that in another podcast. But what you're essentially looking at there is constructivist theory, what's called the constructivism and the constructivist theory, where you construct your own learning. You take by defining your own problem. So you're able to say, look, instead of having a teacher define a problem for you, you're able to say, this is what I want to achieve. And this is what we want children to do in schools. This is one of my preferred kind of ways of teaching is, this is what I want to solve. This is the problem I need to solve. My Chinook, for example, doesn't fire, doesn't have a weapon attached to it. So then they go in and they construct their own learning by trying different things. So create experiments, note the solutions to those experiments, whether they're fails or passes and to what degree, and then just keep doing that until eventually you get the result that you want. And it's huge. It's a huge beneficial way of teaching, but it's basically what we're looking at there is problem-based learning through constructivism.
Fantastic.
I must say, this is how I learn everything. So I've dabbled in most programming languages in this exact same way. I will do a tutorial to learn the rules, because each language has a particular weird set of rules. But thereafter, it's like, okay, now I want to do this massive project. How do I do that? And then step by step. Personally, that's how I kind of learn. But I can see my kid doing the same kind of thing. It's a powerful way of doing it.
Listen, we're coming to the end of our show at the moment. What I'm going to say, we're going to say our goodbyes, and then I've got a little interview that Stephen Reid we did at my invention, and we're going to lead with that. So I just want to say thanks very much to Dragnoz for joining us, and also to Stephen Reid. Thank you. And I hope you have a productive weeks ahead. And what we're going to do now is we're going to leave you with the interview that Stephen did at the weekend.
Yeah,
excellent.
Thanks, everyone.
Cool, guys. Thank you.
So, hi, everybody. This is Stephen. I am at Mindvention in Dublin. Super exciting weekend. Super exciting seems to be my word these days. Whenever I Facebook Live or I go online, it's like everything's super exciting. But this is really super exciting. There's actually loads and loads of people here. We've met a bunch of YouTubers that I work with, like Tomahawk and Nettie and Big B Stats. And we're running an education area here. We've got stuff happening all day on the live stage. It's just been a brilliant show. So far, I've competed in Street Fighter V, and I lost to the guest I'm about to interview, actually. And then the only game I was actually winning at was the new Star Wars Battlefront game, and I was about to win, and the guest who I'm about to introduce interrupted that game and took my opponent away. So it was called a void match. So I've effectively won nothing this weekend. Thanks to my guest, who I'm about to introduce as Katja Beauregard, an amazing educator, all the way from Denmark to see us in Dublin and work with us on our education stand. Hi, Katja.
Hi, Stephen.
So we run this podcast. It's called The Long Game, and it's really just...
I'm subscribed.
You're subscribed?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Look, we have a fan already. We have a fan. Somebody out there, make it two, will you? So, yeah, well, that's great. It's called The Long Game, and you'll know from listening to the first one then, it's really, going forward, this podcast is all about what we like to do with our gaming kind of lives, our geeky gaming lives, and looking at games in education, art, and culture. So I'd like to introduce yourself. Tell us, first of all, who you are and where you're from in respect to Denmark itself.
I'm a teacher from Denmark. I live west of Copenhagen, and I work in Roskilde, which is very famous for its Viking ships.
Really?
Yeah.
The Vikings. I was speaking to somebody yesterday, and he was talking about an Irish guy that was here, and he was talking about how his son was learning about the Vikings this semester, but he said that he couldn't think of the word Vikings, and he was like, yeah, my son's been learning about those guys that had like the horns on their helmets. I said, the Vikings? He was like, that's the ones.
And they didn't have
And they
the
didn't. Well, that was the thing. They didn't, did they? I've been learning about that. And they actually wore very little in the way of metal armour. Lots of people say, oh, you know, they had metal shields and metal swords and metal armour and stuff, and they didn't. They had leather and wood was a lot of the things they had. So anyway, so great. So that was Ross. How do you say it?
Roskilde.
Roskilde. But it's actually Roskilde. Is that
That's
how
how
it's
it's
spelled?
spelled,
It's spelled Roskilde. Yeah. Okay. So Roskilde. Good. Okay. And so tell me why you're over here. Tell me why you're here.
I am a part of the education zone, and I did a presentation yesterday about being a non-gamer and using Minecraft in education.
Brilliant. We'll come to that more later. So what sort of things? Tell me about the sort of things that have made you want to come and contribute to something like Mindvention and hang out with us.
Hanging out with you guys.
Hanging out with yes, of course.
It's always fun to get to see people and spread the word about Minecraft and education.
Good.
Yep.
So we'll talk about what you do in Minecraft shortly. But first things first, I want to tap into the subject of something we on this podcast are very passionate about, which is games. So are you? This is the key question actually for all our guests. Are you a gamer?
No.
You're not.
No.
Well, that's good. That's okay. That is okay. Have you ever been a gamer though? I mean, have you ever sat down and consciously kind of focused on games at any point?
No.
No?
No.
Did you ever own?
I did. I have a younger brother, and we had a Sega.
Oh, you had a Sega, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And what did you play on the Sega?
Sonic.
Sega.
But I didn't continue playing. My brother plays video games a lot, but I don't.
I saw a great thing on Facebook the other day, and it was a picture of Sonic, and he was running along and doing his thing, and in the next scene he'd been hit by something and all the rings had come out, and then in the third scene you saw him just getting one of the rings, and it said at the bottom, "Life lessons I've learned as a gamer. You only need one ring to keep going." And I was like, that's actually true. You can collect 1,000, but you know what really matters is just having just enough to keep going every day. And I thought, life lessons, from Sonic the Hedgehog. Okay, so that's fine. Well, that's interesting actually, because that then brings me to Minecraft. So you're not a gamer, but you are a teacher. Yes. And you find yourself using Minecraft in education and presenting on it.
Yeah, I have a lot of kids who are gamers.
Okay.
So about a year ago, I saw some students who were very into Minecraft. Every time they had like 5 minutes, they would play.
Yeah.
But they weren't really into school. So I just thought that maybe I could combine the two. So that's what I did.
Good. So just recognizing what your children are using this is something we talk about when we talk about Minecraft in schools. You know, as a lot of teachers will say, but why would I use Minecraft? And I say, well, your children are using it. Your children are using it on a daily basis. And you know, it's in gaming terms, it's a phenomenon. So maybe somewhere we have to kind of jump on that train, you know, and become part of that movement. Okay, good. So how do you use it then? Because I know your presentation here, which we're going to talk about shortly, is about starting out as a gamer, a games-based educator. But what is it you're doing in your classrooms with Minecraft specifically?
I'm a math and history teacher, so I find that in history, when my students rebuild stuff in Minecraft, they talk a lot of history, a lot more than they ever do.
When you say talk a lot of history, what do you mean?
They reflect and they discuss with each other.
Asking each other questions about
and how
did the Vikings have horns on their helmet, that kind
exactly.
of stuff.
Yeah. This is a funny one because I had them build Viking ships.
Good, okay.
And some girls build a really cool ship, and I'm really impressed with anything they do in Minecraft. So I was just blown away, like, that's a great ship. And it had a cannon that was working, and it had like a library downstairs. And I was like sitting there, yay, it's so nice, because I was looking at the build.
Yeah.
But their peers, there was a boy raising his hand, and he was like, yeah, they didn't have cannons on the Viking ships. And I was like, oh, I see. And he's like, yeah, I mean, they couldn't read and write, so they wouldn't have books either. So I just because they're so, safe and
Yeah.
good at the game, they can, be really critical of what they're doing and what
Yeah.
each other are doing. So
So-
that's really awesome.
And what you're watching there live is peer assessment.
Yeah.
Just literally one peer
Yeah.
looking at another peer's work and saying something's not
And what
quite
I
right.
also see is that
Or
they're
is.
not afraid of making mistakes. So I had some boys building a Viking house, and they needed a fire inside. And half the house burned down because the house was made of wood. And they were fine because they were like, oh, we need to figure this out. And how would they contain the fire to just the fire?
Yeah.
So that was a really great thing to see too.
So you start looking, in that case, I imagine you would have studied, or your kids might have gone and studied the hearth and how they would have used stone
Exactly.
to conceal
Yeah,
a fire
exactly,
within.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Okay, that's the sort of stuff I love to hear. So that sounds amazing, Katja. Mindvention, then. Tell us a bit about your experience of the show. It's a great little show. We love
Yeah.
coming along to it. But what about you? This is your first
This is my
experience.
first full-on Minecraft thing, and it's really interesting to see how big this game is
Yeah.
with kids, because all the kids are super into it, and all the parents that I talk to are clueless.
Yeah.
They have no idea what's going on. And I talked to my brother about this. He drove me to the airport, and he was like, where are you going? I'm going to a Minecraft convention. And he's like, I don't get that. Because his children play Minecraft and watch YouTube and stuff. And I don't do that. So I meet all these YouTubers, and I have no clue who they are. I've never seen their videos.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
The children are super engaged, and every time they see a computer, they sit down and play. So that's been really, really nice.
Great.
To
So
see.
you've met, yeah. And what about what sort of things have you done while you've been here?
I've mostly been around the education zone and helping kids, because a lot of kids don't play Minecraft on the PC.
Yeah.
So I've been able to help
it's a
them.
controls issue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had to
Just
teach them how to use the PC. So that was really nice.
Isn't that an interesting reflection of the evolution, though, of technology? You know, some kids they don't know, they can't navigate the keyboard or the mouse.
I see that in my classroom all the time.
Yeah.
All the kids that has touch in their screen, they'll use the touch
Yeah.
instead of the controls.
And of course, that raises a more serious question in that, again, we were talking earlier about perhaps teachers that say, well, why should I use this stuff? But the truth is, if we as educators don't embrace this stuff, we will be left behind.
Yeah.
The touch screen is showing that. Our children are embracing technologies that we're not putting into schools yet.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, it's not, we're the ones in danger of being left behind in this case. So, yeah, brilliant. So tell us briefly about our area. What did you do when you got on stage? What did you bring along for us?
I had a presentation on using Minecraft in the classroom when you're not a gamer, so how to get started and how to get into the game,
Great.
know the basics. So that's
It was a
what I
brilliant
did.
presentation. I've seen it actually. It's a couple of different shows now because you're kind of evolving it as you do each show and stuff. And it's a brilliant presentation, I have to say. And if anybody listening wants to see that presentation at all, look out for Katja at different events because you have been to a few now, haven't you? What kind of events have you done?
I did the presentation at BED, and I'm also launching Minecraft Education Edition in Denmark.
In Denmark.
Yeah.
Okay, that's brilliant. Good. Good. So, do you have any other upcoming events and projects that we should know about? If you were doing something, and I mean, betting things fine and events-wise, but even projects, what are you doing in your classroom going forward that we could look out for when we check your social media?
Right now, I'm working on moving from just using Minecraft as a rebuild game to exploring and learning through playing the game.
Okay.
So I've been looking into that. I use my students a lot, so I have a Minecraft club,
Yeah.
and I use them to get ideas on how to use the game because they know the game better than I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So so that's what I've been looking into now, using survival, go explore, play the game instead of just rebuilding stuff.
Okay.
So so that's what I'm working on right now.
And to make that clear, then, what different outcomes would you be looking for? I mean, you clearly you're moving strategy because you think there's a new outcome or a better outcome to be had.
or just a different outcome, because it's two different. I think there's a great outcome from rebuilding stuff. They have to do research and figure things out, and but I also like using the game.
Yeah.
And playing the game and learning through that.
Okay.
So we've been working on that for history right now for the Middle Ages.
In survival mode, you mean? So
yeah. So
and
we
creating their own
created
narratives.
like a fortress where you can send the kids in and they can live as knights, waiting to go on a crusade and trying to plan out what do we need when we go on a crusade and then actually go.
Okay.
So we've been working on that.
Good. And then, and because it's in survival mode, they are then subject to consequences of their actions and stuff like that. I was playing a thing with some kids recently, and we were following a narrative, which I'll talk about in another podcast. But the kids were in survival mode and therefore subject to dying.
Yeah,
and they
stuff.
kept saying to me, every time one of them died, they said, that's great, we'll respawn. And I said, but you can't, because we're playing a narrative based on real life.
Yeah.
You cannot just respawn.
No.
And they were like, yeah, but you can in a game. And I said, but you can't in real life. And that's what I wanted to teach them, was that there are consequences, and in some cases, end of game consequences. And so what I did in that case was I took the ones who weren't allowed to respawn, and I made them into journalists. And I said to them, look, you're going to get some pen, you're going to get some paper, and you're going to journal the story of your colleagues going forward. Yeah. And we ended up with this really nice journalism piece from each of them, or certainly from the ones who had kind of passed away. But it was really interesting that they just thought, well, there are no consequences in the game. And it's kind of like, in survival mode, there are, and I want you to stick to them.
Yeah, exactly.
I want you to respect those boundaries. So listen, for those, thanks very much, Katja, for taking the time to talk to us while we're here at Mindvention. For those listening, hope you enjoyed that. Katja's details, social media details, will be in the podcast details. So make sure that you look her up, and if you have any questions, I'm sure, Katja, you wouldn't mind if people were to send you a question on Twitter or something. So thanks very much for listening. Thanks again, Katja.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Goodbye.